We're going to talk about a really important piece of the process when we find a home and we're getting ready to buy and close on our home. Everybody is very focused, of course, on cost when it comes down to it. And so I've got a wonderful professional with many years of experience from the Chris Ahles insurance agency from White Bear and Roseville, actually right here in the Twin Cities. And Matt is joining us and he's going to be able to answer some questions for us, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So yeah, it's super exciting. Happy to be here. And yeah, so the first part with insurance that is, the most important part is figuring out what type of property you have and what you want to use it for, right? So if you have a single family home that you live in, you're going to have a different policy than if you have a single family home that you rent out to someone else, right? And it can kind of get gray if you rent it out to family members too. So you really want to talk to your insurance agent, right? You really want to talk to your insurance agent to make sure that your policy matches. So when the claim, if a claim happens, you're not surprised with some stuff.
So would you say is a policy where you own or occupy the home cheaper, or is a rental, investment property cheaper?
Yeah, so it's kind of the same. It's a little bit, when you get past like 500,000, it's a little bit more expensive to have the rental property, right? But most of the time you have different types of coverages. So if you have a single family home that you live in owner occupied, you have a lot of personal property coverage, right?
Yep.
So then you have other coverages if you don't live there. So it sort of balances out, but it's pretty similar.
So Matt, tell me what are some of the different types of insurance that are available when someone is considering buying a policy for their house?
Yep. So yeah, the biggest thing you want to think about is whether you have a policy that has replacement costs or actual cash value. So those are two different settlement options when you have a claim. So the replacement cost for a roof example, let's say you have a hailstorm comes through and it just gets a roof, right? So then you need a new roof. So if you have replacement costs, you get coverage for the entire new roof at the replacement cost, right? So they pay for the whole thing.
No matter what it costs you. Yep.
Right, yeah. So actual cash value is they'll say, okay, let's say you have a roof that was a 30-year shingle. It was a 15 years into it, and then you had a claim, right? So they would say the value of the roof will depreciate it by half because of the lifespan, the wear and tear. And then they'll just give you that and say, good luck.
Yeah. So wow. So that's a huge difference in terms of how much someone might have to spend out of pocket if they had a claim, right?
Oh, big time, yeah, right? Because yeah, it's you're either paying you're paying a little bit more for the replacement cost at the front, but it's better than a surprise at the back end for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of times people will talk to me about cost. So what are some ideas or ways that people can drive down the cost on their insurance premium?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the big things is like a home security system. So, theft is one of the things that, claims happen and causes the rates to go up. Having a home security system will bring it down for sure. Having your roof replaced will also bring it down. So if you have an impact resistant shingle, and there's a list that you can kind of go through, talk to your insurance agent about that. And you can have, just have the contractor sign off on a form and you get a discount with that too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. And now I typically have heard that it's best to shop maybe your house with like a car or two, right? Like a multi-policy discount. Is that something that you offer at your insurance company?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. The multi-line discount for bundling the home and the vehicle is massive, right? So if you're talking about pure ways to just save on insurance, that's the best for sure. If you don't have your home and your vehicle insured in the same place,
you're paying too much for insurance.
Go do that now.
Yeah,
you're paying way too much for insurance.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
Right.
Great.
So another thing when you're thinking about the insurance company that you want to work with, there's different adjusters that work with the companies. So some companies have their own adjusters that report to the company itself. And then some companies use a third-party adjuster. So just someone who's not part of the company, they come in, they do the adjustment, look at the roof, and then make their estimate and kind of settle it right there. So depending on whether or not you want to work with an adjuster that has access to your agent and is really has a communication channel, think about that when you're thinking about which insurance company to work with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially important since we've had actually two really big hailstorm areas here in the Twin Cities, like Brooklyn Park and I think Blaine.
Yeah.
I've had families over in those areas that were impacted quite a bit. So the claim process is really important, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And would you say, is it easy to file a claim? I think it's almost a little scary, to do something like that.
Yeah. So filing a claim is, almost too easy, right? You can go online and do it. You can, call your agent and do it. But it can be kind of intimidating to people because once you do file the claim, that claim is on your record, right? So you want to make sure that you know you have damage for, the claim that you file, and you don't file 4 claims in 5 days, right? Because then you could potentially get dropped by your company.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess that's also another quick question is it true that if you file an insurance claim, your policy premium could go up?
I mean, sometimes. It depends on what type of claim it is, and it also depends on the company. So every company has a schedule for the claims. So if you file a claim, you're going to go from this discount to this discount. If you file a claim, you're going to go from this surcharge to this surcharge. So you want to kind of understand that table that the insurance company has, and that's a good question for your agent too. You can say, hey, if I file 2 claims in 2 years, what am I expecting here? And it also depends on what kind of claim, because some are chargeable and some aren't, right? So weather claims in Minnesota are not chargeable. Some other ones
I didn't even
are.
know that, actually. Yeah, because we can't control that.
Right.
We have a lot of heavy duty weather stuff that happens 9 months out of the year, right?
Yeah, it's just a weird weather area here, right?
Yeah.
It's super weird.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that sounds great, guys. What I would say is I really recommend, it's so important to understand insurance and why it's important, and especially that cost. The reason why it's so important is that as we are working with your lender, this is going to be part of the cost of being able to close on your home. So ultimately, what would happen is that once we find that property and we've gone through our home inspection again, the loan officer is doing his job in getting your loan approved, you are going to be ultimately shopping for your insurance policy, working with your insurance agent. They're going to get that information in regards to what your policy premium is, and they're going to send it straight over to your loan officer, and that's going to be actually part of your closing costs on your loan when we go to closing. Typically what's going to happen is that your mortgage company is going to require that you pay 1 year up front, and then every single month, 1/12 of your insurance payment is going to be pulled out of your payment and put into an account called an escrow account, which is basically another word for a savings account. But 1 year from now, when your insurance is due again, your mortgage company will send that payment right away to your insurance agent, and it'll all be taken care of for you. Matt, why don't you tell me, how does someone get started when it comes to starting to look for insurance? What's your first step?
Yeah, for sure. So once you have a property picked out, you obviously got your financing, worked with Nancy and getting the property picked out also. You have to talk to your insurance agent, right? So then you talk to your insurance agent and say, hey, I'm closing on this date and I need coverage for this house, right? So then your insurance agent will probably want to get together with you and just go through the coverages, make sure that everything that's important in the house, that you purchased this house for a reason, there's stuff about it you like, so you want to make sure that that's covered properly. So then you would go through the coverages, anything like a detached garage on there you want to make sure you have coverage for.
Or maybe a shed.
Yep, shed too, absolutely.
That's usually extra.
Absolutely, for sure. So then you just make sure the coverages line up and everything's good to go. And then you have to communicate with the mortgage company, right? So on the insurance declaration page, you need to have the lender wants to appear, right? With their loan number and everything on it to make sure.
You're protected in case of a loss.
Right, yeah. If you're putting 5% down on the house and then all of a sudden you got a claim, right? The lender's like, hey, we just gave a lot of money, so they want to protect their stuff, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then the next step is you decide how you want to pay for the insurance, right? So there's 2 options for paying for the insurance. You can either pay the first year upfront to your insurance agent, and then they can send just a binder over, a paid receipt to the closing, right? Or you can escrow it, right? So it's going to be or collect at closing, not escrow. It's going to be escrowed, right? You could have it collect at closing and be part of your closing cost. There's no price difference whether you do it this way or that way. It's the same, right? It's just however you want to do it, right? So if you're getting closing costs from the seller, for example, you probably don't want to pay your insurance agent if they're going to, pay the...
That's right. And an excellent negotiation piece is that, in the process of negotiating on the price of the home, if the seller is willing to contribute towards some of your closing costs, if you paid the insurance up front, you'd be bringing less to the closing table. But if the seller is going to help you pay some of those costs, then it's best to just have it paid right at closing. And literally at closing, the title company will cut a check payable to whoever your insurance agency is, and they'll just mail it right off. So you don't have to worry about it not being paid.
Yep, that's correct. Awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And then, so after that, you're not really talking to the insurance person that much anymore, right? It's a lot of back and forth, making sure that inspection goes through, right? That's important.
Mm-hmm.
But then, If you have to adjust the closing date, we can do that easy. And yeah, not really doing too much insurance after that.
So Matt, tell me what are some fun facts about insurance, or maybe like things that you think are super important for people to know about insurance?
Yeah, I think there's too many fun facts about insurance to get into, right? But one of the most important things that you can communicate with your insurance agent is just like, tell them what kind of buyer you are, right? So if you say, I want to know exactly how all this works and I really care, your insurance agent will go through it, right?
Yeah, I think that's actually a great thing to mention.
Right, for sure. But if you want to say, look, I trust you, I trust the company, don't overload me with insurance details, right? I have other things, right?
Yeah.
So like you can communicate that with the insurance agent and just kind of understand where you're at, right? Because different things are important to different people.
Yeah, I think it's actually a really great tip. Well, thank you so much for joining me
for sure.
and opportunity
Fantastic.
to educate about insurance, something most of us don't know too much about. And so wonderful. Thanks so much.